how important is education in empowering women and empowering young girls, the young generation out there, for the better climate?
Education and awareness is the first step. They have to be aware of the problem they're trying to solve. If they are aware of the dangers climate change has, they will probably take a step back, rethink, and start choosing better life choices.
Yes. Hello everyone, my name is Grace and welcome to the latest episode of our podcast, Driving Eco-Sustainability, My Perspective. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Vanessa, an Eco Feminist. We are going to be talking about empowering girls for a better climate. Welcome.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for the opportunity to be on this platform today. And I am really excited to come here and share about girls and women in climate change.
Yes. Now, all I know about you is that you're an eco-feminist. You've been in this space for quite a while, and you are someone who advances the cause at the intersection of women and climate change for the betterment of our environment. So basically, if someone meets you out there, who is Vanessa and who are you and what really drives you to be part of this space and to advance this cause?
You already mentioned that I am an eco-feminist,
Yes.
so I will skip that. But as well as I'm a renewable energy advocate, I
Yes.
normally push the agenda of renewable energy and clean cooking solutions. And I also normally host Twitter spaces and as well as Google meetings with people who have done clean cooking solutions and with people who are into climate change and gender.
Okay, yes. So you seem to be doing quite a lot in this space, but what I pick out is that the cause for women betterment, the cause for improvement of women's lives is quite very personal to you. And also the mere fact that women are at the forefront of climate change and are disproportionately affected by it. It's also something that you're passionate about and equally inspired to solve. So what really inspired you to join this space, and why choose exactly to better the lives of women and girls out there?
So why I chose to choose this space is because as a girl, I can relate to the vulnerabilities as women are faced to go through, and we are exposed to them because of the duties society places upon us. From a young age, we are forced to, I can't say forced, but we are normally made to have this thing that we are growing up and we have to take care of the household, we have to manage the household. So with those different responsibilities as women, we are normally hit the hardest when it comes to climate change, because climate change has a variety of challenges it causes. And this diversity of challenges includes food scarcity, water shortage, and you see, these things all have one thing in common, and that is it affects the woman at the core. So this is why I choose to come in and advance women, because we are the most vulnerable and we are the most hit when it comes to climate change.
Yes. Okay. So what are some of those gender aspects that render women and girls to be very vulnerable, and they expose us as women to the never-ending effects of climate change in our lives?
Yes. As I mentioned before, we have duties of household chores and doing a variety of tasks like making sure there is water in the home, making sure there's food in the home, taking care of children. And with all this, we get something called time poverty. We are not able to have enough time to do all this, and as well as go out, access opportunities, do economic activities that will get us money, because how am I going to go to work when my child is at home? And it's normally easy for people in the urban areas, because for them, they can get someone to do the work for them. But we look at the woman at the village, in the villages. What are they going to do if they have like 3 children at home and they cannot take care of the children at the same time they can't go out to work? So with that all said, I feel like that in particular is a challenge. and also limited access to a variety of resources like finance, education, because women are not entirely aware of themselves, what they can do as themselves. They are not aware, and we need to educate them. We need to empowering them is one thing, but also them being aware of
Yes.
what they can do and how they can do it is also another thing. So I feel like that's also a challenge. And women in Uganda, especially the ones in the villages,
Yes.
they normally fail to access resources like land because they don't have I meant resources like finance because they don't have access to land. 26% of women in Uganda have access to land or land titles. And this is because of certain gender biases.
Yes.
You will hear people say that she's a woman and she wants land. Like, that's new to some people,
Yes.
especially in villages. And for the banks, they need collateral, and land is part of the collateral. So if a woman doesn't have the collateral to get access to the finance, then she loses out. So these are the challenges we face. And also in certain, I basically talk about rural areas because they are the mostly affected. Because in urban areas, we normally have a little privilege to most of these things, but people in the rural areas don't have these privileges. So you find someone wants to access finance and they want to get a loan, but the bank is like 500 kilometers or so.
Yes.
They have never heard of how a bank account is made, how to make a bank account, what to do when they get there. They don't even know anything about that. And also, normally in these households in the village, the man is the controller of everything.
Yes.
So in order for the woman to get access to finance, she first has to ask the man. And the man will ask her, okay, you want access to finance, you want it for what? I'm supposed to be the provider.
Yes.
And meanwhile, what's funny is that women are the most ones doing the work. Like, they are the ones farming, they're the ones, and after them farming, the man is reaping all the benefits. He'll probably go to the town center and drink the money. And this woman is left there helpless and she doesn't know what to do. She's taking care of 3 children. So there's really a challenge, especially on the village level. Yes, there are a lot of challenges hindering women from adapting to climate change.
Yes. Now, from what I've picked is that the biggest challenges are there is limited awareness. And also, other than the limited awareness, there is also limited access to resources of production like land that could help women access financing, but also the social constructs of society deem it that up to now that we are in the 21st century, a quarter way into the 21st century, but still in our society, women are still seen as a second-level citizen compared to men, which has exposed them to the continued presence of domestic violence. And also the mere fact that women would be disproportionately more affected by the fact that when there is scarcity of water, scarcity of food because of the unpredictable changes in the weather or climate, they would have to walk long distances to find something for their families to eat. And this would expose them to the bare minimum, would be exposing them to sexual offenses.
Yes.
Now, from what I have picked from you, one of the biggest ways we could help to remedy this situation could be through education.
Yes.
And enhancing awareness.
Yes.
So how do you think, how important is education? How important is awareness in empowering women and empowering young girls, the young generation out there, for the better climate in future?
Yes, education and awareness is the first step, because if you are telling someone climate change does this and you shouldn't maybe cook using firewood or charcoal, and they have been cooking using charcoal and firewood from long before, why are you telling them that? So the first step is awareness. They have to be aware of the problem they are trying to solve, because they are now fighting a silent battle.
Yes.
And if they are aware of the dangers climate change has, they will probably take a step back, rethink, and start choosing better life choices.
Yes.
So awareness goes a long way, and education is just a supplement, because awareness is basically telling someone about something and they're aware of it. And education is instilling them the skills and the knowledge they have to go on and be effective in
Yes,
whatever
yes.
you've taught them. And so education and awareness come together, and they are very important, because when you're educating, you don't have to educate only about the climate change aspect, but you can bring in other aspects like financial literacy,
Yes.
because it goes along with adapting to climate change as well. You can also bring in aspects of self-awareness, so that women can be able to be self-confident in order to go into rooms that make decisions. They have to be able to sit at the decision-making tables that affect them. So yes, I do agree. Education and awareness plays a very important role in establishing climate change impacts and challenges.
Yes. Now, you've mentioned something quite interesting, that if women are going to be able to take action and to be at the table where decisions are made, then they have to be educated, they have to be made aware. And I remembered something quite very interesting that was shared by one of the greatest jurists in America, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that if women belong to the table where decisions are made, but should you find that you don't have space on that table, you don't have a chair on that table, create the space for yourself on that table. Now, you've mentioned something equally important. Secondly, is that education is awareness is just making you aware, but education is more effective if it's wholesome, not restricted to climate education, but also empowering you in other aspects of your life, like financial management and also personal well-being and personal betterment. So do you think our policies in Uganda have been able to capture this, or do you think there are still gaps in there that we can tap into and we close them as well?
Yes, it's one thing to make a policy to address a systematic challenge, but it's another to put it into practice. Yes, the policies are there, because there's the national gender policy.
Yes.
There is the policy of poverty eradication, but yes, the policies can be there, but are we enforcing the policies? Are they reaching where they are supposed to reach? Are they reaching that woman in the village? Is the woman feeling the impact? So these are the questions we have to ask ourselves, because just saying policies are being made is one thing, but them being put into practice is another. For example, I remember they banned polythene bags, caveras, some time back, but we are still using them. So the policy is there, but what is its use if we are still using them?
Yes.
So that's where I put in this aspect of, yes, the policies are addressing the systematic challenges, but they are not actually practicable.
Yes.
They are not actually practicable, because the impact is very little.
Yes.
Yes, they have enhanced initiatives elevating women. I applaud them for that, because lately I've seen a lot of initiatives uplifting women, initiatives educating women, and that's really good. But are we giving out the impact we are supposed to be giving with these policies? Is the impact being made, or are we just doing a little? A policy is made, we just give like a short something short about the policy, and then we stop in the middle or halfway or quarter way of the policy being implemented. So yes.
Yes. Now, if we are going to advance the cause of bettering women's lives, so that we can adequately empower them for the better climate and girls for a future generation, we are going to have to also ensure that the environment they are living in is also supportive of what they are dealing with, or how much they are transforming their lives, because that's what empowerment is all about. Now, one of the biggest problems in Africa and sub-Saharan Africa is energy poverty. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have a problem of the fact that it's very common, by the way, for us to have load shedding and to go a full day without power. Even here in Kampala, where you would think that right now we shouldn't even be talking about something like lack of power in the capital city. But even in the capital city, Kampala, we still have that as a problem. So how do you think energy inefficiency, limited access to energy, or limited access to power is hindering the welfare of women altogether?
Okay, I like the fact that you've talked about energy poverty,
Yes.
because I normally push for that agenda, because 90% of households in Uganda use firewood and charcoal. We are still using firewood and charcoal. And about the electricity, 77% of the households have access to electricity. So now that hinders a lot, because women, normally businesses run with electricity. We run with energy. You find a woman they normally do practical things like making things.
Yes.
Making things for drinking or selling drinking things, beverages, or generally most business need energy to run. So if there is an energy inefficiency, what is going to happen? Most women are going to backslide, and they are going to be discouraged from doing certain businesses that would actually make them some money. And also, energy inefficiency is it's leading us to contribute more to climate change, because we're using firewood and charcoal. Normally, yes, there are alternatives, but how effective are those alternatives? And are these women at village level, are they being taken to these alternatives?
Yes.
So that's also something else, because you can't tell a woman at village level that, let me give you, for example, a solar panel. A solar panel is very expensive for that specific woman. So she would resort to firewood and charcoal. So I think also incentivizing these alternatives to energy for people to adopt them, because someone who's using firewood and charcoal, those women in the village, they cut down trees and they sell the charcoal, they sell the trees. So they are getting money out of it. So if you incentivize, like you say, you can sell the solar panel, or you tell them, we shall pay half, you pay half. Then they'll see it's a win-win situation. So we have to address energy poverty, because it's a really serious challenge here in Uganda. And the fact that most businesses run on energy, it limits women mostly, because they normally have practical businesses. I mean, the ones in rural areas.
Yes.
Yes, they normally have practical businesses like grinding maize, like selling beverages and all those things. And they really need so basically they do also cooking as well. So that's where energy comes in, and it limits them a lot.
Yes. Now, you have mentioned that, yes, energy will play an integral role in enhancing awareness and empowerment of women for a better climate. And if they are to contribute to bettering our climate and also fighting the climate change crisis, energy is going to be an integral part of it. And because most of the small-scale businesses that support families, both in towns and also in rural areas, are run by women. So from your personal experiences, can you share from a practical perspective what initiatives that you have been able to implement and you have been able to integrate into the communities that have bettered and have improved the livelihoods of women?
Okay. So last year, I brought on an initiative to impact young girls and women around the area. It's called Ketifalao. It's in Kawempe. And that initiative was basically to make these young girls and women aware of climate change, and as well as eradicate poverty as well. But of course, you can't eradicate poverty totally. So basically what the initiative did is that we were able to empower these women to adopt vocational climate conscious skills. We taught them how to repurpose textile waste into fashionable products that they can be able to sell. So not only are they impacting climate change, but impacting climate change positively, but they are able to get income out of it. So it's a win-win situation. So we were able to impact 30 young girls, and for now, they are all progressing with their different businesses because we taught them how to make different things from repurposing textile waste, like bags,
Yes.
beads, earrings, like different things. So I feel like more initiatives like that could help. If people could teach climate conscious skills, you teach someone a skill, you're saving the environment as well as being able to get them some income in order to adapt to climate change, then that would be a good thing.
Yes. So what are some of those challenges that you've actually encountered in doing this work? Because you always interface with different communities, and every community has its own approach in how it receives an initiative which is going to probably change their lives. We all have a way we adjust to respond to change. Sometimes we may feel like it's intruding and inconveniencing us, while in another community, someone else may be receptive. So what are some of those challenges you've encountered?
Yes. So some of the challenges I've encountered is basically some ladies, when you teach them something, they normally don't practicalize it. It ends there. You teach them maybe how to make bags or how to do something. They'll normally learn, maybe because they want the money at that point, because normally these trainings offer money.
Yes.
So someone will come from their homes just coming to expect money, and they won't really see value in what you're teaching them. So in such a case, you need to actually first give soft skills to these ladies you're training, because these soft skills go a long way. You have to tell them, why are you here? Do you want this? What do you want? And I normally, in the initiatives I do, we normally first do a soft skills workshop and an awareness workshop where we ask these ladies, what do you as a person want?
Yes.
So that we find a way of putting the program into what they want, so that they don't feel like they are just doing it for maybe just for money or just for the moment or to keep time. And also sometimes language barrier, because sometimes we may not be on the same page, but of course we definitely do find ways to go around that. And another challenge is that most people are not aware of climate change how we think people are aware of it.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
Because we have seen climate change, we can hear in rumors climate change, but people don't know the impacts.
Yes.
People don't know what it means. Some people just know it as a term. I mean,
yes.
even some of my friends,
yes,
they tell me, are you into climate change? What's that?
I know, even me, I know people who like I interact with and they say, yes, you talk about climate change. They actually say, we've heard you talk about something, climate change. What does it mean? So now at an interesting point there. Usually when you go into these communities, share one reaction someone always makes firsthand when you mention climate change.
They be like, Wanji? Chichecho. They're like, what is that? So you have to explain to them, you have to tell them real life examples, like flooding happened in Kasese. It's because of climate change, and you're experiencing this because you do this and this and this. Your life choices should be different. So generally, normally, most of us just hear the term and we do not know what exactly it entails. And that's a problem. And also reactions like, okay, so the sun, okay, the climate is changing. The sun is hot. Like they don't even know that even cooking alone is climate change. And in Uganda we have poor waste management.
Yes.
And people don't know that that also leads to climate change.
Yes.
So there is a lot when it comes to climate change, and people don't know that most of the life choices most of what they are doing in their lives is contributing to the climate degrading. So that's also a very big challenge.
I think the biggest problem is making climate change information relatable, climate change information understandable,
Yeah.
and less bulky, and communicating it in an interesting way, because usually most people will find this quite boring. You mention climate change and then you start narrating to them, defining climate change, and you fail to relate it to their day-to-day life, their day-to-day decisions. Then they'll feel like it's not my responsibility. I do not care, so I should know nothing about it.
Yeah.
No. Now, another thing I've noticed is that usually in communities, it is here in Kampala as well, but also in communities that are not in Kampala or a bit rural communities, there is usually this belief that I'm not responsible. I shouldn't take action. The government is the one responsible. So it should come and address whatever challenge that the community is experiencing, because that's none of my business. Have you experienced it?
Yes.
And how have you been able to convince people to understand that you can't wait for someone else to come and save you, that it's actually your responsibility and it starts with you?
Yes. You mentioned relatability. So you have to relate to these people. You have to explain to them in real life examples, and you bring people with different stories, because storytelling can also go a long way. We normally can invite someone with a real life example, and she explains to them, or he explains to them, exactly how the climate impacted them. And also normally we relate to the different scenarios that happen in the environment. Like, for example, there was a heat wave at the beginning of this year, a very serious heat wave. So we can use that. We say, did you experience the heat wave that happened in January? And someone will be like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. You'd be like, do you know that that's because of climate change? Then they'll say, but what is climate change? Then that's when you start explaining to them, of course. Of course, you don't have to make it boring.
Yes.
You can bring in some funny stories here and there, but as long as you get your message to the person and maybe show them, like you can be an example to them and show them.
Yes. So that's when I come to ask that, do you think when it comes to, we have different age groups, the girls, the women.
Yes.
Do you think also we need to communicate this information depending on the age group? Because how I process information will definitely not be the same way a 5-year-old processes information. A 5-year-old will need to be given something interesting, colorful, with cartoons, something happy and hopeful. While me, I may be able to bear reading a passage, a full page. Someone 5 years is not going to be able to. Then someone 16, they are really active. They are exploring. So they are more into action-packed activities, and they are more, if not that, they are more into expressing themselves, their mental capabilities and what works for them. So do you think also communicating, considering that you have experience dealing with the people who are a bit older and also the people who are slightly on the lower age gap, do you think it also, how the age gap also factors in how you communicate climate change information?
Yes, definitely. Age does factor in, because you're not going to go to a 7-year-old and start telling them climate change is this and this and this and this and this and this. Of course, if it's a bit a younger person, like 7 years, you normally incorporate storytelling or make them do an activity or give them books, like a storybook that normally has that. And there are some initiatives that are coming up and doing that, and I love that, because we have to recognize the different age groups, and that's a really good point you've brought up. Of course, normally even old people, like some of them don't want necessarily you to give them a whole pamphlet. Some people are not good with reading, so you have to make the information as simple as possible in a language that people will understand. And normally, I would think that even for different regions, to reach the people of those different regions, we have to be communicating in the language they are communicating, so that they are able to accept. If you are talking the same language with someone, there's a way they easily accept what you're trying to say. So yes, I do really comply with you when you say that age group is necessary, and also the way you communicate has to be simple, it has to be relatable, it has to be in the person's language. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's it. And you also have to use people who these people trust. You have to go through people who are influential to these people. So I normally beg for people who are at these tables, who are influential to people, to send that message ahead, because they are examples, they are role models to people, and people listen to them. For example, if we are going to do a project in an area, we have to pass through a certain criteria and we have to talk to certain people, because if you just go to an area and you start preaching the gospel, it's not that, okay, yes, some people will listen, but people won't give you an ear because people will have other things to do, or they have like this perception of what is that person saying. So you normally have to go through the local leaders who they have related with, who they have talked to, who they know, okay, chairman is saying this.
Yes,
let's listen. Yes. So that's when you get the information to these people.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Vanessa.
Yes.
I know from personal information that you've just come back from a leadership training that is focusing on empowering women's leadership skills. So how is the year looking for you in advancing the cause of empowering women for a better climate?
Yes. So, yes, I am back from the Lead Her Fellowship. I got accepted for the 4th cohort. Praise God for that. And I really have big ambitions. I'm looking into entering into policy implementation. In the training, we're basically learning about policy, about peace and security. And I am not someone who's in law, but I am really interested in policies, because I believe I want to make a change in this world when it comes to women and girls. And I believe in order to make a change, I have to be at those tables. So I have to get myself to actually learn what policies can get women to where we're supposed to be, how I can implement those policies, how I can make the people who are responsible for policies to implement them. So it's very ambitious, because I'm looking into going into policy making. I'm looking into actually starting up my own girl organization, so that I'm tired of being at the back. I want to now go all full front and actually lead some women. And also, I'm looking forward to graduating.
Okay.
I'm graduating in October.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to graduating. I did a bachelor's in accounting and finance at Uganda Matters University. So I'm looking forward to that. And I am also looking forward to doing a master's as well.
Probably in policy, I think.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So, yes, I have very many aspirations, but for this year, it's basically going into policy making more, advancing my knowledge on climate and gender, trying to make my social media presence lively so that I can get a wider audience, so that they can be able to listen to the women and girls' voices through me, the women and girls I represent that can't be able to come and talk about their experiences. And also looking to pushing the renewable energy agenda.
Yes.
And because Uganda's energy poverty and the fact that we have to use charcoal and firewood, so I'm really looking forward to actually pushing that agenda. I normally host Twitter spaces and Google meetings on with people who have done innovations in renewable energy and clean cooking, but I'm looking forward to doing more than that. Yes, that's basically most of what I've been looking forward
Yes.
to.
Now, from this conversation, one thing I've noticed is that if we are going to collectively empower girls for a better climate and increase their awareness and better our climate altogether, we shall need to foster intergenerational conversations. The conversation is not going to be had with only us, the adults.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be cross-cutting together with the young people. How effective do you think intergenerational conversations are in empowering young people towards taking climate action? Because I ask this because usually when you meet young people, they will say, the old guys do not understand what we are
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
Then the old guys are also saying the young people are making so much noise,
Yeah.
unnecessary noise.
And yet
I think they are
don't
just
know what they're
exaggerating
saying.
what is actually on ground, and they are not knowledgeable. They don't know what they are talking about.
Yes. So I really feel that young people should be brought on board because they normally have fresh perspectives. It's just that the old people should guide us, because if the old people are against the young people, then who's going to guide us? And us as the young people, we are the ones who are going to face the challenge of climate change, because it's our future we are dealing with here. So I feel like intergenerational approach is totally needed, because us as young people, we have fresh perspectives and the world is evolving at a fast rate. You can find someone elderly. I like to call them elderly, not old, but someone elderly may not know how to use technology that much, and technology is advancing.
Yes.
So young people are very vibrant. They bring young perspectives, fresh perspectives to the thing. And since the challenge is affecting us as well, and we are the ones bearing the future, the future challenge of climate change, I believe we are supposed to be in these spaces as well. Last year I attended a dialogue, and it was called it was an NVR on SDG implementation. It was a dialogue on SDG implementation. And we were, I think, 4 young people only. And the reason as to why I got into that space in the first place is because I knew someone elderly. So I actually raised my hand and asked, because they were talking about SDG implementation, but they reached a point of talking about youth, something concerning youth.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, where is the youth here? Like, you're talking about us,
Yes.
but you're not even bringing us here.
You're not collaborating,
Yes.
yet we are all about SDGs here.
Yes. So then I put up my hand and asked them, we are talking a lot of important things, but us as young people are totally underrepresented in this. And why can't we have access to these opportunities? Why is the information on these opportunities very limited? Why is it that when it's something to do with entertainment or something else, it is very loud? Why don't they bring out these opportunities when they are going into rooms with dialogues, speaking about policies, speaking about things that actually affect Uganda? Why aren't we invited in those spaces? Okay, maybe some are invited, but it's the information given out is limited. Like it's very little. So, and young people are very innovative. I have met a couple of people who have amazing innovations that can change not only Uganda, but the world as well. And I am a living testimony of that because me and my team members, we're four, we are making biogas from water hyacinth.
Yes.
So I believe that young people, if the elderly should combine with the
Yes.
young
Combined
people,
efforts, really.
and together we shall make this work, because
Yes.
you can't make something work when you are on opposite
Yes.
sides and opposite agendas. And we as the youth are the biggest percentage. So I believe if they guide us, because some say that we don't know what we are doing, or we are just talking, but I believe if they were willing to bring us into these spaces and opportunities, they would as well guide us and mentor us into these things. And yes, we shall be able to achieve monumentum in the country.
Yes. Now, as someone who is young, vibrant, I do get it that yes, if we are going to make any sensible change within our country, we need to work with both sides of the divide, the young people and the older people, because in any case, in this country, in as much as we don't want to accept it, the young people are the biggest percentage.
Yes.
It used to be 50, then it went on progressing. This census, I don't know whether now it's at 70 or 80. I'm not sure. But what I know is that we are the biggest population in this country. I don't know whether I still lie in the younger population. At this point, I think I'm on the other side, because they say majority is below 18 years.
Yes.
So right now, even us who are above 18, we're on the minority side. Yes. No, now, as someone who is young and is quite with ideas and has been in spaces that are advancing the cause for climate change and gender and empowering girls and women for a better climate and future.
Yes.
One last question. If you were to meet your younger self and you had access to spaces of policy makers and people who are driving this country, what would be that one thing you would tell them? And you would tell it to them emphatically and quite really boldly, like how we see this young lady from Sweden, Greta Thunberg. The one thing you would angrily share with them that you think should change as soon as yesterday, so as to ensure that as a part of the future generation, our climate is better and our environment is better as well.
Women need to be on decision-making tables. And when a woman is on a decision-making table, listen to her and actually implement what she's saying. So you see, normally we have a challenge because people are saying women are now empowered, women are now being given seats at parliament, and that is true. But people are again complaining. Women are given seats at parliament, they're now at parliament, but now they're forgetting us. But sometimes that's not the case. We shouldn't blame also those women, because how do you know that she's not contributing? Maybe she's facing gender-based stereotypes or whatnot. So I believe that people should actually listen to what the woman has to say. Don't, when a woman says something, a comment will be like, for you, you're just a feminist. For you, you're just saying that because this. And there's also this thing, the woman is beautiful, but she has brains. Like, there are all
as
those
if a beautiful woman is not supposed to have brains.
Yes. Like, literally, someone will tell you there is a surgeon waiting for you, and you'll just assume it's a man. Like, there are so many things that gender-based stereotypes and that cause us having a backslide in climate change impacts. And people should actually people should stop climate denial, because normally people think it's a myth. Some people think we are just making money out of it. Some people think it's just an hidden agenda of getting resources out of it, but it's actually real and it's here to stay, and it's only getting worse. In January, we saw a lot of heat waves, and now we are having unpredictable heavy rainfalls. We are having flooding. And, the thing with climate change is that it doesn't tell you when it's going to strike. It just strikes. It doesn't tell you how or where, but it's coming, and it's coming for all of us. So the best thing to do is to be prepared for it and try as much as we can to actually acknowledge that it's real.
All right. Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's been great having you. And our listeners and viewers out there, we have been talking about empowering women and girls for a better climate. Do you think that women are better empowered today than yesterday? Or do you think more can be done? I believe that more can be done. Do you think that there is more that we can do? Share your views, and you can share your comments so that we can learn more and also increase awareness and understand that climate change is real. Climate change is here. And if we are going to fight it, and if we are going to adequately respond to it, adapt to it, and mitigate it, women have to be given a seat at the table. Women have to be in the decision-making places where people are advancing policies for the betterment of the future of our climate. I've been your host, Grace, driving eco-sustainability, my perspective. Till next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do value the time that you put in to watch every episode. The entire essence I started this channel was to enhance the reach of the voices of those people who are contributing to the fight against climate change and those who are fighting to save our environment. If you like this video, click the subscribe button so that you can equally contribute to enhancing awareness towards climate action. Let's save our planet together.